Slip on your absorbent undergarments.
Damage 365 Radio with your host Kevin Nasta and John Corey.
There is only one. It's time to play the game. Time to play the game! It's all about the game, and how you play it, all about control. If you can take it, all about your stand.
Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of Damage 365 Radio, episode number 25. As you heard, there is only one, as I am flying solo today. JT had a car mishap, was unable to make today's show. So Coach Kev, that would be me, your host, will be running it alone. And what a great show we have in store for you today. And without further ado, we will kick it off, as we always do, with a fall softball recap. The Nightmares fall to Unique Lounge, 12-2 and 11-2 this past weekend. The team was very shorthanded. Didn't have their strengths there. The outfield was depleted with the people that were unavailable to play this week, and the fact that the team didn't have the depth that it needed to compete against a team like the Unique Lounge, our weakness really showed. And moving people around and keeping people, confident in where they're playing is not as easy as it's. And right now, we just hope the team bounces back next week. Since we're back to 500, we have 8 games into the season. We're 4-4. We only have 3 weeks left, and the fall season's short, so we don't want to limp to the final weeks of the season and pray for other teams to get us into the playoffs. We want to ride it high into the postseason and have our strong players there and make sure that, we show the rest of the league that this is a team that we are to be reckoned with, like we showed the first couple weeks of the season. I personally hope that the H&H returns next weekend. And if you don't know what H&H means, then ask your manager what H&H means, because that's something that every team and every player on a team needs. And if you don't have that, then you don't have a team. And, unfortunately, that's just the way it is, that if you don't have H&H, you don't have a team. And, it is what it is. So we move on, and we just, next week bounce back. I think we're playing the bench warmers. Hopefully get to that 2 games back over 500 mark, and ride that high into the final 2 weeks of the regular season, where we're going to take on 2 tough teams. We're going to take on the Griffs and the Preem, and then the start of the postseason. So hopefully we're on the inside instead of the outside looking in. So moving on.
Sit back, slip on your absorbent undergarments.
Damage 365 Radio with your host Kevin Nasta.
And that was a little clip of just me, folks. That wasn't the clip that I wanted to play, but unfortunately that's what did play. But when you're riding solo, things like that happens. I don't have enough hands or enough arms. But what it was supposed to play is that we're going to move into Coach Kev's Clubhouse Report. And this Clubhouse Report is brought to you by Esposito's Pizza. And we'll get into an ad of Esposito's Pizza a little later on. But to start off our Clubhouse Report, New York Yankee relief specialist and closing great Mariano Rivera today is playing his final game of his Major League career. And the Yankees right now are in the top of the 14th inning against the Houston Astros, but they are leading that game 4-1. So that game will come to an end. Mariano Rivera did not pitch in this series and will not pitch in this series. Even came out and apologized to the Astro fans as he's been limping through the last couple of games of the season with a sore shoulder and a sore forearm. And Mariano Rivera, the all-time saves leader who exits this season stage left with nothing but class and respect of his peers, fans. Doesn't matter if you're a Yankee fan or not. Myself, I'm a Met fan, and I have total respect and a total appreciation for what Mariano Rivera has done this season. It's just really nice to see someone do it the right way his whole career. Didn't take any shortcuts, didn't cheat, didn't get in trouble in the media, and just kept his mouth closed and played the game the right way. And it's just really, really refreshing to see someone do that. And people coming up in the minor leagues or young players in the major leagues should really, really just take a look at Mariano Rivera and say, you know what, I want to mold myself and I want to mold my career just like Mariano Rivera, regardless if I have his success or not. You should go into your career with respect, with class, with dignity, loyalty to your team and your teammates, and that's the way you should finish your career as well. And you'll have all the respect of your peers and your fans and everybody around you, and that's what you should strive for. It's not always about statistics. It's also about being a respected ball player and teammate. And sometimes that's all you get, because you have guys that come out of the minor league system that's all they talk about is their statistics. Oh, this guy hit this many home runs. This guy's a beast. This guy can throw the ball 98 miles an hour. This guy can't be touched. And then they come to the major leagues, and it doesn't pan out that way. And sometimes you don't hear things like, you know what, he didn't have the greatest major league career, but he was a great presence in the clubhouse. This guy was respected by all his peers, his teammates, ownership, management. Wherever he went, he was well respected, and that's something that we don't hear enough of in Major League Baseball and actually in professional sports in general, and that needs to change. And going into another guy who might have been a little standoffish as a teammate, but still was well respected because of his career, Mike Piazza, the former New York Met, Los Angeles Dodger, San Diego Padre, and Oakland Athletic, was honored today by the New York Mets prior to their final game of the season, which was a 4-3 win, and inducted into the New York Mets Hall of Fame. And many players were there, and former players were there to honor him, such as Mookie Wilson, teammates Edgardo Alfonso, John Franco, Rusty Staub, a couple of greats from the 1969 teams, and Ed Kranepool, Buddy Harrelson, Ed Charles, and Al Jackson. So there were a lot of former and past players and players that played with Mike Piazza were there. And a very, very tearful Mike Piazza, especially the conversation that came up during his interview process about his dad, that he was very, very appreciative of the fans and the support of the year that his dad has gone through with his health, and that he was there to see this. And hopefully his dad is there to see Mike Piazza get inducted into the Major League Baseball's Hall of Fame, whether that's next season or the season after, just one step at a time. Was a little disappointed that the Mets did not retire his jersey number 31, but not surprised, because the New York Mets are very stingy with their retirement of numbers. There are plenty of people that I would love to see their numbers retired, such as Mike Piazza, Howard Johnson, Keith Hernandez, the late Gary Carter, those players who kind of put the Mets on the map through the 80s and early 90s. And even as recent as Mike Piazza's career when he was with the Mets up to 2005. And, the Mets, maybe somewhere down the road, maybe different ownership, who knows. But, as far as the Mets were concerned, like I said, they won 4-3. They defeated the Brewers. The Brewers played a little ugly late in the game, and they were victimized by bad defense, and the Mets took full advantage of that. But I want to take some highs out of the New York Mets for this from this past season. I mean, it's not a lot. We're going to have Nick calling in later on to do his Amazings report, and he's going to go over some, finer points about the New York Mets and probably Mike Piazza, I'm sure, and the future of Terry Collins and possibly Matt Harvey and things along that nature. But, my highs of the Mets season was, Eric Young today stole 2 bases, finished the season with 46, and led the National League in stolen bases. It was nice to see him do that. It was nice to see him spark a little energy and offense into the top of that order. And it was nice to see Terry Collins at the post-game interview say that they have big plans for Eric Young next season, and they like to play around and tinker with his mechanics so he can be an all-around force, something like Jose Reyes was with the New York Mets, somebody who gets on base and just causes havoc and just continues to play great defense. And we'll see what happens there. Daniel Murphy finished the season, 13 homers and 78 runs batted in, all career highs for him. He also finished second in the National League in total hits and played 161 games this year out of 162. So showing that, despite last couple of years where he's, had some really gruesome injuries, he's a very durable player. He doesn't go into very extended slumps. He didn't really have a real hot point this year, like a 2 or 3 week stretch, but he still batted over 285. He still finished second in the league in hits and played 161 games this year. So congratulations to Daniel Murphy for setting some career highs in some very impressive categories. Lucas Duda, despite the low average, has proved that he's an on-base machine. The guy had a well over a 360 on-base average while batting well below 250. And you know what? He's also been a picking machine at first base. And not to steal a line from Billy Beane in the Moneyball movie with Scott Hatteberg, but he's played a very, very, very well above average first base. And it's got me thinking that I would really like to see Lucas Duda be the New York Mets everyday first baseman and for them to shop Ike Davis. Lucas Duda, to me, still gets on base. He doesn't strike out as much as Ike Davis. Defensively, right now he's just not that much of a fall off from Ike Davis. And Ike Davis, the fact that he strikes out a ton, he doesn't put the ball in play as much. His upside power-wise is just as good as Duda, but Duda walks. Duda gets on base. Ike Davis has not in the last 2 seasons. And I think Ike Davis is a very expendable player. And I think it's time for Ike Davis to go elsewhere. And let's stick with Lucas Duda in a position he's comfortable with and see if he comes around this year. Let him play a full season at first base. This year he did not get that opportunity. He played first base when Ike Davis got hurt. So let's see what happens with the future of Lucas Duda and Ike Davis. Another thing that was great this year, Matt Harvey blossomed into that pitcher that we all thought he would be. And despite the end of the season injury that could or could not result in Tommy John surgery, we really, really got to see a Matt Harvey, and it was a great thing. Zach Wheeler, he showed promise this season as well. He had his ups and his downs, as a rookie pitcher will, and I like his upside. Will he be used to be moved in the offseason to bring in a Giancarlo Stanton or a Carlos Gonzalez or a Troy Tulowitzki? Who knows? All 3 of those players are available for trade right now. So will Zach Wheeler or Travis d'Arnaud be moved for one of these players? You never know. It was also good to see LaTroy Hawkins defy the aging process once again and step in after Bobby Parnell got hurt and convert pretty much 95% of his saves. And it was really nice to see that. It was a good job by LaTroy Hawkins. Let's see if he's back again with the Mets, or maybe this season earned him a 1-year contract for another team, maybe a team that has a shot at the World Series next year. And will Terry Collins be back next year? He was asked at the press conference. They said, will you be here tomorrow? And Terry Collins' answer was, we'll find out tomorrow. And I think he's earned that rumored 2-year contract extension. He's proved that he can manage a young squad. And I think he had a lot of fun managing this young squad. I think this young squad put energy back into Terry Collins. And I would really like to see what he can do with some talent. I mean, yeah, the Mets have some talent, but they didn't have a playoff team. They didn't even have a 500 team. They played to expectations. They didn't play below. They didn't play above. They played to expectations, and that's going to happen. So I would love to see what Terry Collins can do with some talent. A lot of Met fans, feel the same. Some Met fans think he's the worst manager, since Jeff Torborg. Those are not real Met fans. Those are fans who think that the Mets should be winning world championships in the last couple of years, and all you fans are pretty much out of your gourd, and you just don't know baseball. But moving on, we're going to get into our next segment, which is our shout-out segment, which we're going to do a little early today. like to do a lot of shout-outs today. Sorry about that. But yes, we have a lot of shout-outs today for birthdays, and we like to shout those out. Happy birthday to a friend of mine and a former season ticket holder with me, Maureen Clinton. Happy birthday. Damage alumni, William Ambio Jr. Happy birthday. A.L. Wolkowitz. Happy birthday. Robert Herman Jr. and Kristen DiBiase, both celebrating birthdays on the same day. Happy birthday to the both of yous. James Verrucchio's pitcher, John Daly. Happy birthday, John. And we also like to say congratulations to a Damage alumni member, Amanda Girardi Gino, as her and her husband, John Gino Jr., are expecting their first child. So happy birthday to the Gino baby to be, and happy birthday to everybody. And we move on to our next segment, and that will be our Stables tournament, and a very, very final matchup, but a very good matchup in the finals. So I'm a Paul Heyman guy.